All right, welcome to another episode of the Founders Table. Pull up a chair and take a seat at the Founders Table with real founders, real entrepreneurs who have real conversations about the issues you face as a founder-led entrepreneurial organization. I'm here with a dear friend of mine and someone I'm extremely excited to have on the show today. He's been an entrepreneur for we'll find out, but many decades, and he has been able to successfully scale himself out of a job and build a multiple 8-figure organization. He now helps me alongside our wonderful team to help companies scale and get to a place where their company has real value. So please welcome my friend, my brother, Mr. Troy Hoffman.
Thanks, Nick. He fired me on the way here because I was 16 minutes late in traffic, by the way.
Yeah, I said
he said the traffic's going the opposite direction. I don't believe him.
When you were like, we're in a heavy traffic area, I was like, if we were going the other way, maybe. I mean, I don't know. Troy and I basically live, well, he lives all over the world, but when he's here in California, he lives in Huntington Beach.
Yes.
I live in Newport Beach, which is right next door. And it only took me 22 minutes to get here.
It took me 56.
He's got this beautiful big watch, but apparently it's broken. But what is not broken about this man, what's not broken about this man is his mind and his ability to see systems. I mean, the way your mind works. So maybe before we dive into that, give the audience a little background on you, age, how long you've been, an entrepreneur, kind of where you're currently at in that whole, gestation.
So, 48 years old.
Goddamn, you look great.
Thanks.
Like you say, not a day over 47.
Yes. And then I started building companies, like literally by just like kind of chance. A buddy of mine wanted to start a detailing business when we were about 14 or 15 years old. We started Suds Brothers, and we started handing out flyers to all these people, right? In all these houses. Within a few weeks, he quit. And I just kept going, and then I was like, hey, asked another friend, hey, can you help me do this car, and I'll pay you money. I asked another friend, can you help me do this car, and I'll do money. And so next thing you know, we had like one old school like phone with an old school answering machine and one number, and people would leave their name, and a bunch of like junior high kids on bicycles with portable vacuums and turtle wax and all the goodies in like a little bucket that you attach to the bike. And we go around and start detailing cars, and did the same thing with painting the numbers on the sidewalks.
Oh yeah, I mean, like the people that knock on your door and like, hey, we want to.
Yeah, we'll paint your number. So we did those like when I was a kid, and then.
What would you charge for that, by the way?
It was $15. $15. Yeah,
that's actually pretty good.
It was great. It was great at junior high. My dad thought I was selling drugs. Maybe get a real job because he thought I was like selling drugs or cocaine or something or marijuana or something. Well, so I actually got in trouble. Yeah. I bought a whole boat by myself at like 14 and everything. Like that was a 1965 Starcraft with the 1965 Evinrude engine.
Jesus.
Yes, it was awesome.
So that was your first taste of like, hey, I can actually make money on my own, and I can actually have other people do the work, right? So you've been actually outsourcing work, and
I love outsourcing work.
I do too. I want to work as little as possible and make as much money as possible.
And then that's like, even I did my feng shui chart, right? One of the things it even says on there
is... You did a feng shui chart at 14?
No, I didn't do it now, but I did it recently. This is recently, and like on the little chart said I need to basically delegate even more.
Really?
Yeah, and I was like, oh, this is great. I love this. I love this chart. Wow. And I don't know, I just try it all. I try DISC, I try all the personality tests.
What's that? By the way, have you taken the wealth dynamics?
I've done it, but I can't remember it right now.
The only reason I ask is I just recently took it. What Troy is talking about.
I need to go through it again.
Yeah, what Troy's talking about, there's all these assessments. There's predictive index, there's DISC, there's Colby.
Yes, I love Colby.
I never heard of this feng shui one, but there's wealth dynamics. And so it basically helps you understand who you are, like at your core, so that you can actually step fully into that and do the best work that is going to be in alignment with like who you are, in your DNA,
And I think you should take a bunch of them, like do 4 or 5 of them at least. Do color code. I mean, just hit them all. Anything you can find online, just go and do what you can and just go take these things.
Right.
Circle them, highlight them, take notes about it, read them. I did this like 3 days ago by myself in the morning. I was just journaling and like going through this new report I just got because I'm constantly trying to say, okay, where do I put my time, my money, and energy over and over and over again? Because it's a constant awaken and remember with everything we do in our lives, right? So I think that's one of the key factors of trying to do these personality tests. And so I started personality tests when I was actually 17 or 18. I got an Amway. And so that was the first thing. I started reading books, tapes, and functions, and going
Yeah.
to seminars, actually learning about business, learning about, goal setting, dream building, going to Tony Robbins seminars. And the first company we launched was a Christian t-shirt company, and we ended up scaling that first, right? We started doing like surf and skatewear style shirts
What
for
was it
like the
called?
Christian marketplace, Encounter Productions.
Okay.
And the clothing line was actually called Grave Clothes at the time. Like Jesus came out of the grave wearing his grave
Grave
clothes,
clothes, yeah.
right? And so that was kind of the
He was
concept.
drippy. Jesus was drippy, man. Jesus has swag.
That's swag.
Yeah.
And so we did really well with it, and we were doing all these youth conferences, and then we took over Amway seminars, making shirts, hats, stickers, and then we got the sticker business.
How old are you at this point?
18 when we started that.
Okay, so just for chronological order here. So you had the Suds brothers in junior high school and as a teenager, and then you transitioned to this T-shirt business, and then you started actually doing the T-shirt stuff for other people.
Yes.
So you had your own brand, and you're also like
Correct.
manufacturing and helping them.
And doing huge conferences, and then we sell our products there too.
And was that a pretty profitable business?
Yeah, it was pretty good, but I don't think we understood bookkeeping. There was no mentors back then. There was no coaches. I had no idea what taxes were.
And where were you getting the information? Just through just kind of the
Back then, they didn't even have the internet. Yeah.
I know.
This was like 1993.
That's why I'm asking. That's why
94.
I get so upset. I don't know if you ever seen the series I run on Instagram called "Smartphones, Dumb People."
Yes.
Because and it's not that they're dumb. I just say that they're ignorant because, man, if I had this smartphone. You and I'm 44 years old.
Crazy.
Yeah, I didn't have a cell phone until I was 22.
I learn every day. I'm on YouTube learning, taking notes from somebody all day, every day.
All you could do back at the cell phone when we first got it was play Snake.
At that.
Yeah, exactly.
It was like, and I had a beeper. That's how old I am.
Me
Like
too.
the beeper, like you had to text messages.
Yeah, you could 143, I love you, and all the
I love that. I love that. And so the lessons were learned there because one is I didn't have any mentors, and the people I had were kind of really nonchalant. There's one guy that was a real entrepreneur, but he was impossible to really connect with in any real way.
So you're out there doing your thing,
Yeah.
but no bookkeeping, no mentorship, no financial literacy, no even.
I learned QuickBooks myself, so I didn't even know if I set up the damn thing correct.
Yeah,
I didn't even know we had to do tax returns.
Oh wow!
There was nothing out there.
Wow.
No one's telling you anything. And I had something called Senior Corps of Retired Executives, SCORE, coach me. And these are retired NASA executives.
Senior Corps of Retired Executives.
Yeah, SCORE.
Wow.
They're all over the nation. I think the
they
Better
still
Business
around?
Bureau. I think so. Maybe there's better people now.
So you reached out to them.
I reached out to them. I was like,
Yeah.
hey, I got all these problems. People want money. They want payroll. I'm like, what the fuck's payroll? You know what I mean? And somebody goes, do we have benefits here? I'm like, what are benefits?
Yeah, the benefit,
literally,
the
people
benefit
ask,
of
I'm
being
like,
employed.
I don't know. We'll pay you in surfboards. We had one contract that we got free surfboards from this one company to do a bunch of marketing for them, right? So it was kind of random stuff like that. And then we got into web design. We built this huge shopping cart technology. At the time, we created something called Value Web with my buddy Travis Kuntz. And that actually did pretty well. We took on a large job where we didn't have good contracts. We had no legal. We had no one teaching us anything. So I think these guys saw us like, oh, let's see how these smart kids can go. And we built this huge platform for this huge cruise industry so they could do online ordering. The whole thing crashed. They didn't want to pay their bill. We had a great website we built for them. Long story, put out a lot of money and it bankrupted literally me. And I easily could have changed it. This is where I wish I would have had us back then.
Right.
That's why I'm so passionate about what I do. I'll work for anyone for free, entrepreneurs, help them day and night.
By the way, I'm not suggesting that you do that anymore because this guy does it way too much. I mean, this is what happens. When you get to our age, so you've been an entrepreneur, you're 48, so I mean, let's just call it, 30 years? 30 years. I'm going on 25 in September. When you get to our age and you've been doing it this long, you realize you collect some debts from other people that you can't repay. People that helped you, people that were instrumental in your life, and you can't repay that debt. But you make a vow to constantly pay it forward. That's why we do this podcast. That's why we have a podcast like this, is so that you, as the founder who are sitting there starting out, or you're deep into it, you understand that you're not alone and you can get help. And Troy is probably one of the most generous men I've ever seen with his time and his money, and we're trying to curtail that a little bit. But today, you get all this shit for free. So
I wish I would have had us then, because I could have easily turned both those companies around with the right mentoring, the right coaching, the right guidance, right? So I think that pain is what drives me today to want to do what I do now.
Got it.
And I want to do this for the next 4 decades of my life, help entrepreneurs scale and grow their companies and build their dreams all over the world, right? To help them manifest dreams globally. Something like that would be amazing as we're building this thing out right now. And so then I went bankrupt. I had to move back to my parents.
How old were you when you went bankrupt?
Like 24.
24. And you actually like went fully bankrupt, like
fully bankrupt. I filed Chapter 7.
Wow.
Because that's where the coaching I got. Like, just go.
At 24.
Yeah.
Wow.
So this filed Chapter 7 is what they told me. And I was like, okay. I was like, it wasn't even that much money. I don't think it was like a couple, maybe 140, 150,000 in debt. Like nothing.
You could have worked your way
easily if someone would have just said, just do this, this, and this. We had so much going.
Now I want you to listen to that. Bankruptcy is not an option. Like I literally, bankruptcy is giving up. It's pushing everything to the center, saying I can't figure it out. Here's what I know about people: that if you go to them and you're honest and you're candid about where you're at and you have a plan to pay them back, like they would rather get paid than have you just pull the ripcord and be out. Right? Whether it's a vendor or a strategic partner or an investor.
Even the credit card companies.
Credit card companies. Like you can handle this. Like through honest communication and clarity, almost all things can be done. So you were talked into because you got ill advice and you filed bankruptcy. What did that do to you?
I was really depressed. I literally drove around smoking cigarettes all night, listening to motivational tapes and drinking Mountain Dew, trying to figure out what to do next.
That is the recipe for motivation. Cigarettes, Mountain Dew, and Tony Robbins. They call that the Bermuda Triangle
that's where I was
of
at.
creation.
I think it was amazing. So that's where I was at. And I went back to college. I was like, crap, maybe I better go to college. So I finished an AA degree in a year, went to Florida State, started a day spa up there and waited tables and bartended through all this too at night and made a bunch of money, sold that company.
So you sold that company?
That was sold that company. That was great.
So we call that an exit. For those of you that don't know about selling a business in the industry, it's just called having an exit, right? So you had that exit. Was that a meaningful one?
It was, for me, yes, it was good. It was a good buyout.
A couple $100,000 or something?
Yeah, it was like about $240,000.
Jesus Christ, that's amazing.
Yeah.
At 25?
26.
26 years old. So this is like in 2000 or something like that, right?
2002.
Wow, that's $240,000 is a lot of money right now, let alone.
And then I moved to California.
Thank God.
Started this company with this guy out here, helped him build this thing in this one industry. We went from 0 to about 5 million in about 3 years and 10 months.
Wow.
And then we stepped away from each other, and I started another company called Simpleris today, and went through the challenges. And I want to point out, too, what Nick said. I was about $1.8 million in the red. And within 30 days, I was going to have no money to almost pay any bill. Literally. I was like, okay, I was about ready to be like, okay, do I just tap out? I'm peace, I'm out of here. Not that it was an option, but I wanted to almost, right? The stress was so high. The burnout was so high. Again, trying to find good coaches and good mentors was difficult. I found this one guy, Scott Duffy, right? And he's
Scott Duffy's a great man.
He's amazing. And Scott sold his company to Richard Branson. So Scott's had all this experience and helped build up ESPN.com, all these amazing different companies during the tech era. So Scott and I went into an office. I was like, Scott, how much? He's like, $5,000 for the day. I was like, Scott, I've got $1,276 left to my name. Will you take that? And he's like, okay. If that's all, I literally emptied my bank account, give it every last cent to Scott and say, Scott, I'm fucked.
Yeah.
I don't know what to do. So we literally spent that entire day mapping out a plan of literally, how do I get out of debt, right? How do I grow the company, and how do I deal with all this? And we made all these lists of all these things to do. How to call every vendor. I spent the next 18 months on the same vendor call almost once a week saying, I'll pay you back your $18,000. For 10 minutes. Hey, don't worry, I'm going to pay you back. I'm going to pay you back.
Yeah, that's what people want. That's what
yeah.
people want. So I don't want to miss this opportunity because we were just talking about this yesterday. So the reason why people work with me and guys like Troy and the ecosystem that we're building is one word, and what he just described, and I want to crystallize that, is access. Access. Access is what people pay for. What you paid for was access. You went to somebody that had the knowledge that you needed in that critical time. Your business is going under. You paid for that access, and what you were accessing was all of their experience, all of their playbooks, and being able to pinpoint the exact solution in that moment to get yourself out of a jam. And that's what most entrepreneurs like are missing, is that like they're like, oh, I gotta pay you. Of course you gotta pay. You're paying me for my 25 years. You're paying me for my Rolodex. You're paying me for access to the capital markets. You're paying me for, the knowledge that I've acquired over 25 years, and the 600 million in revenue that I've done, and the businesses I've torpedoed, and the thousands of employees I've employed. That is what you are paying for. And it didn't come cheap for me. And I'm not just going to give it away, because I want to know that you're willing to invest in yourself long before like anybody else is willing to invest in your business.
Yeah, he showed Scott, here's my zero bank account now.
Right.
Like, here's my personal bank account, like $10.
He knew you were
like $5 or something left in my personal, and then here's my business bank. Yeah. Literally, he knew I was all in.
Let me just ask you a question. If you didn't pay that money to Scott in that moment, what would have happened to you?
I'd probably be dead, Nick, honestly.
Yeah, see, and that's what I'm saying.
I was like that depressed. What
has been
crazy.
What has been the lifetime ROI for making that investment into the right mentorship and getting that access? What's been the ROI?
I texted Scott, I think it was like almost 3 years later to the day. I was like, I now have 1.8 million plus in my bank account.
So you were 1.8 million negative in your bank account. You paid for the right person, paid for the right access, and then you went positive 1.8. That's a 3.6
with zero debt.
$3.6 million swing on a $1,200 investment.
And the company was still scaling and growing at the same time.
That's incredible.
Because we were so far behind in debt because we were growing so fast.
Wow.
It was so crazy. We were on the Inc. 500 list multiple times in that company. We could have probably kept applying and been on it. We were on the FSU top 100 list. And then we just stopped applying because we just had our own problems internally trying to like scale this thing. Because I mean, if you don't know how to run a large company, you've got to learn how to manage. You got to learn how to grow. You got to learn how to lead. I mean, it's like all these things that are on you as a point person, right? And so that was my growth. That was my like breaking of me in every possible way, right? So that's where the Duffys came into the world, and then learning how to become the leader, then how to lead the leaders, then how to leave the leaders behind so they can lead on their own now, and then
that was powerful. Hold on. How to become the leader, and how to lead the leaders, and then how to leave the leaders.
Correct.
Woo! I never heard it put that way. That is beautiful. I'm going to steal that, by the way. I can do a whole riff on that. How to become the leader, how to lead the leaders, and then how to leave the leaders. And that's a quintessential part. So everybody, is going to have some amount of exit in their business, right? Like whether they run it into the ground, right? 94% of startups like fail, so that's an exit. What you're describing is another kind of exit, which is, you work yourself out of a job, and so you can actually leave the leaders, let them lead, and then go live your life and or lead another group of people. There's the leaving it to the next generation, which is very, very difficult, and I'm not sure I 100% recommend it. And then there's actually scaling and selling your business, which the key component of that is what you described, which is transferability and being able to leave the leaders, because the leaders need to stay in place if someone's going to come buy your business. And then the last exit, which we all have and you and I can avoid, is we're going to die. So I always say, no matter what you're building, build it to exit, because you want to exit some sort of bullshit.
And build it solid. Build something solid that even if you don't show up for 3 months, it still functions.
Like when's the last time like you actually like was in your office like working like full time?
August 1st, 2020.
I love how you know the number. I know the date.
I can tell you the exact date, and I can tell you
August
the exact
1st,
meeting.
2020.
That was
and
like,
you said peace out.
Like literally, and it was so anticlimactic, that meeting, that I wept, and no one else really understood the implications of like, okay, I'm handing it over to this guy to run. Yeah. But I knew it. But the funny thing is, so anticlimactic.
So almost 4 years. Yeah. That company is Simplerus. How many employees?
I don't know what they're running right now. About
That's so funny. He's the vast majority shareholder, and he doesn't know how many. I want you to think about that. He doesn't know how many employees there are because he is not the CEO.
No,
he's the
CEO.
Owner, but he's not the CEO.
And I'm the shareholder that elect the board, and the board hires the CEO. This is where most entrepreneurs have zero clue what true board law is. And then understanding board law versus Delaware, board laws versus Nevada, and board laws for Wyoming. What are the actual copies of it? What are the regulations? What are the rules? What are the cases saying about my responsibility versus CEOs. And when you become P&L responsible, it's a whole different game. They're responsible for the P&L, the profit and loss of that company. And I didn't really understand this, so I went through that transition over the last 4 years, right? Really understanding this. I actually met one girl that her whole thing is coaching board members how to be better board members, right? And you're talking about larger entities, larger profitability, and then two, you're stepping away. Say, I have no control over the staff. I have no control over hiring and firing. I only have control over one thing.
Which is the board.
The CEO.
Oh,
the
CEO.
board has control of the CEO. And there's a few board members. Us board members elect the CEO, and we actually sign documents. You're signing things. You're saying, here's the responsibility of the CEO. Here's what we have access to. Here's what you have access to.
So I want to slow it down real quick so people can, that are maybe just starting their journey, or you're thinking about, kind of building yourself out of a job. So Troy has built a company. It's a multiple 8-figure company. He hasn't stepped foot in there to run it on a day-to-day basis, even though he has oversight from a board member perspective in 4 years. And has the business grown or has the business retracted?
Oh, it's 4x.
It's 4x. So he removed himself, put the right people in place. So he exited the day-to-day, entered into the board.
It says that the company is better without me.
Well, and
it's true.
And you know what?
Because you hire high-level people,
right?
That are way more dynamic than you feel and do so much.
Like there's only like a founder that can take a company all the way is a fairly unique person, right? Most founders can get the company to a certain place, and then the companies go through what I call a period of professionalization, where you start to build out your C-suite level of executives. C-suite just stands for CEO, CRO, CMO, CFO, and so COO. I got a funny story about the C-suite. C-suite. This will show you how green I was. So I knew that I needed some mentorship, right? And so I call around to different people, like, hey, what are you doing? What are you doing? And so this one guy goes, hey, I'm in this group called Vistage. So I look up Vistage. I'm like, oh, this looks pretty cool. And so they have a CEO group, and so I'm like, hey, I'm gonna join this. So I wanted to interview a couple of the facilitators, right? They have these facilitators that facilitates the whole group. I got to find this guy's number and apologize to him. So this guy comes in, and he's a facilitator. I forget his name, but he's like, Nick. He's giving me his resume, and he's like, and I've been a C-level executive for most of my life, and I was like, what a dumb thing to say. Why would you want to be a C-level executive? And so dude, I swear to you, when he came back, I said, hey, listen, Joe Blow, I'm not going to do with it. Like, I can't deal with C players. I'm an A player. and the only experience that you've had is at a C level, and so I'm out. And he looked at me, probably like, well, good, because you're a dipshit. I don't want to work with you. But I say that
we need to find that guy.
I know.
We're trying to do it. I feel like we probably know if he's in Orange County.
You're a C player, dude. I'm an A player. What a dumbass. But I say that because
Nick was confident. Yeah, that's why Nick's great.
I was super confident. So I say that because what Troy is describing is building out a C-suite level of executives and then a board of directors, which gives directives and manages the C-suite level of executives. This is how you go from good to great. This is called the big leap. There's lots of books and a lot of things that we put into practice in and around this concept that he's describing. And so when you start out, you're not even an entrepreneur. You're a guy or gal that has an LLC or an Inc. Like, that's it, right? And then there's this period of what is called the hustler, the grinder, that kind of thing. Then when you start having employees, now I consider you to be an entrepreneur, right? And then there's the next stage of entrepreneur, from that going to CEO, then actually going to like shareholder mogul, right? Where Troy has transcended this entire chasm, and so his business for the last 4 years has thrived without him. It's 4x. Think about that. As he's traveled the world with his beautiful wife and children, and he's now paying it forward to all of you to be able to do the same for yourself. Like, I want you to comprehend that. Imagine not going to work every single day and your business doing better and better on a day-by-day basis.
Without you.
Without you.
It's kind of an ego hit. Trust me. You're
but-
like, oh my God.
But it says,
I should have done this years ago.
It says a lot about you. I experienced this myself as well. And I actually experienced the emotions that came with it, because everybody...
No one talks about the emotions that come with it.
Everybody talks about the exit, but nobody talks about the reentry.
It's so crazy, because you have to figure out, okay, what do I do with my time?
What do I do with my life?
What do I do? Literally, what do I do? I was literally sitting on a beach in a place, Zipolite, Mexico, and it was like literally nobody there. And we had this like private cove and this like kind of cabana house and this private cove by ourselves. And I'm like, this is amazing. This is like the dream. Like literally I could walk over the rocks and surf this beautiful right break. And then right in front of us was our own little private swim cove and everything. We're literally by ourselves. I'm like, this is amazing. At the same time, I had this whole like, what am I going to do with my life?
Well, there's like an anxiety
it's
that comes with it, right?
I need to work. I need to go do something. I need to create. I need to like.
I mean, I remember the same thing when my group came to me. I built out the C-suite level of all A players, C-suite A players, and I built that out. And they came to me and they was called the We Got This plan. I was like, what does that mean? They're like, we got this. Like, Nick, you've had us for so long. You've sacrificed. We've watched you like have 2 children and build this office and employ hundreds of people. Like, I get chills thinking about it right now. Like, we see your passion for speaking. We see your passion for coaching. We see your passion for paying it forward. Like, we got this. We got you. And I was like, so what does that mean? They're like, you don't need to do anything. Here's our plan. This is the numbers we're going to hit. This is how we're going to show you that we're on track or off track. And this is what's going to happen if we're off track. And I was like, okay, so what tomorrow? And they're like, don't come in. I said, what about the next day? Don't come in. And I remember I went and got an office at WeWork down the road, and I was sitting there like, my phone wasn't ringing.
Like no one wants you anymore.
I thought my phone was broken.
And if anyone texts you, just say, talk to the CEO.
Yeah.
Talk to that person. Like that's it. Like your only job is to say.
It was the craziest
talk
thing.
to them.
It was
Because they want the football. They want to be the quarterback. They want to be the coach. They want to be the wide receiver.
So did you go through a period of like
depression? You just watch the team win.
Did you go through
literally our owner of a professional football team watching them win Super Bowls, and their yards are sitting like this
you
going.
Watch the team win. Because you built the leaders,
you just cheerleaded.
You led the leaders, and then you left the leaders to go lead something else. So did you go through a period of like depression at all?
Oh, 100%.
Yeah, that's what that
It was crazy.
thing, right?
It was crazy. Like you're having your best life and your worst life at the same time.
That's it. It's
the
incredible.
dichotomy of life is always almost like that too. It's crazy.
It's really weird. Like, this is what you dreamed of, that you wanted. Like, there's a lot of founders out there watching this right now. They're like, oh man, that sounds so great. Fuck you, Troy. Like, sitting in your cove. Like, I wish I could get there, until you do. Because then you get there and you realize, oh my God, who am I without my business? Because so much of our identity is defined inside of our business and what we do, that our self-worth is tied up in our perceived net worth. And it's actually the other way around. Like, our self-worth actually will indicate and dictate our net worth and our network. And you'll have much to do if you know who the hell you are. So you got to find that leader again inside of yourself. And I don't think that process ever stops.
No, you're constantly growing. Like I even now, like we were even dinner last night with Sean, who helped us build our software. Sean's built H&R Block software architect. He did Carvana's architecture. He's building some amazing, I call it the Twitter killer company right now. We're going to hopefully.
Sorry, Elon. Don't kill the podcast. That's Troy, not me. Troy Hoffman, at Troy Hoffman.
Don't worry, we'll support you. And then he's just done all these amazing things. We're just talking about the journey we went through building all this together last night. And my wife even said there's 2 Troys. There's a Troy that built all this crazy stuff, and then I know the Cancun Troy, or the Troy that's
I like
literally
Tulum Troy.
Like Tulum Troy,
Tulum Troy is
because you're just kind of free. It's a whole different game.
Yeah.
You got this freedom, and you're going to do things, and yet you become a different person. There's almost 2 different sides to you.
Yeah.
I mean, the entrepreneur was Ferrari Nick, and he was a lunatic with a faux hawk and a collection of Ed Hardy shirts and a bright red Ferrari. And then there was Rancher Nick. Rancher Nick was like one of my favorite versions. Nice.
You went up to my ranch,
Yes.
big 88 acre ranch. Like, that was I experienced a level of freedom like I never thought possible.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I would just be up there on my ranch with my kids, driving my tractors, tending to my golf course, like all sorts of crazy shit.
Yeah.
And nothing, like, I would check the bank account, and the bank account was growing. Like it was fucking wild.
It's crazy.
And now I'm back into like very much like hustler mode, you know, because with what we're trying to build.
We're working 12, 14 hours a day, having more fun.
Seven days a week.
I'm having more fun working 12, 14 hours a day than I had even building the last 4, 5, 6 years of the company, even 8 years.
Or the last 4 years of just traveling Cancun in the world.
Well, that was amazing.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, honestly, to have that type of freedom, though, it was a gift from God.
Right.
Like, it's almost like God pushed me out of my own company. Like, you need someone to push you. You need somebody that's going to have insight to things you don't know. The problem with entrepreneurs was Nick telling that guy that, hey, I don't work with C players, I only work with A players. And I guarantee 99% of you out there have some type of ego, some type of frame that's blocking you so much faster, getting more coaches, listening to what people say. So many people even told me stuff in 2015. I didn't listen. I didn't listen in 2011 to one person. Like, there's so many things that are like, oh no, I got this, I'm smarter. Right? And and the more success you have, the smarter you think you are until it smashes you and something crumbles and breaks you in the process. Like, oh, I should have hired that person. I should have let go of that person. I should have fired that person. I should have, like, I would have, could have, should have. You start shooting all over yourself, as Tony Robbins says. And I think that's where finding people that you can work with that have gone through and built things and done things farther down the road than you are. And then say, who do I trust? Who do I believe in? Who can help me figure out what I want? Ask you the questions. What do you want? Where do you want to go? What do you want to achieve? What do you want your life to look like?
Yeah.
And really write this out. Writing clarifies thought. Are you whiteboarding it out? Are you writing it out? Are you typing it out? Are you making picture boards of what you want to attract into your life specifically? And then share all that information to somebody and say, help me get here.
Wow, that was powerful. All the people that we're doing live, like this is like you can't fake this passion.
No,
you cannot fake this passion because this is 3 decades of pain and burning and building and burning and building and like
hitting the steering wheel.
Yeah, and cigarettes and gallons of Mountain Dew and hours of tape and so you like
I quit the Mountain Dew at a young age.
Like
we
are so passionate about this because of that reason. Like and this is how life works is like sometimes shit goes sideways. In the middle of your perfect picture, shit goes sideways. And you have to be able to adapt and adjust. And you need someone that you can lean on that has the experience that's been there before. In fact, what I would tell you is unequivocally, like this moment in time right here, right now is not possible if Troy and I weren't investing into ourselves. We met in a mutual mentorship program. Mm-hmm. We invested hundreds of thousands of dollars into a mutual mentor and more importantly, a brotherhood, a camaraderie, which actually has allowed us to be even in this building is part of that journey. Like this company that we're sitting in this building is a client of ours, a dear friend of ours. He's the co-host of ours. He's a partner of ours. Anthony Basciglio took this company from 3 million to 30 million this year with the right mentorship, associations, and actually accountability mechanisms to make it all possible.
Yeah.
That's it. That's it.
And Anthony, literally, I was at lunch. Nick was supposed to join, and Nick was like about an hour and a half late.
Why do you got to bring that shit up? I was actually doing sales calls for the organization that we're building here.
And but Anthony's like, man, if I wouldn't have met Nick, if I wouldn't have worked with Nick, if I wouldn't have signed up for Nick's program he had, if I wouldn't have done this, he's like, I don't know where we'd be. Like literally he tells me this long story and then the Nick's network and the people that he's hired through Nick's network.
Number one connector.
Yeah. Like literally has changed Anthony's whole business trajectory and his partners. And you walk in this office. It is electrifying. I mean, I miss offices like this because it's old school, like people passionate about building, working, grinding, doing something great. And you only get that if you learn all these pieces from all these people and digest. You can't do this journey alone. You go fast by yourself. You go far with that village of people with you in the entrepreneur world.
And you get both if you come along with us.
Yeah,
that's what I say. There's that African proverb, right? Where you want to go fast, go alone. You want to go far, go together. You want both. Come sit at the founders table and have a real conversation. And what you said is like that one conversation with Scott Duffy and just mapping it all out. This is what we do all day. We do this all day long. We get in, we go.
I've done this for hundreds of companies now. And then not only that, but I paid Scott back probably I don't know, 10 or 100x.
Right.
Like helping him, I got to pay him back multiple times. I got to be involved in helping Scott and serving Scott back, right? Supporting him on one of these things, like, because he was there for me in a lot of ways. I mean, you start building this massive, massive community of people that, how many people can you call or text and say, hey, I need $100,000 tomorrow? And they say, okay, gotcha, wired in for you. Where do you want it? Like, you got to build this community of people that are willing to help do things together. And it happens so fast. I mean, it really does. There's so many things that are just holding you back and blocking you that you just don't know what you just don't know. And someone needs to wipe the mud off your eyes and show you something different. Be like, oh my God, why did I not make this choice earlier? Why did I not take this action earlier? Why didn't I not invest in this earlier? Why didn't I not go to this program, do this thing, study this, apply this, have my meetings a certain way, host your quarterly plannings, get someone to help you professionalize your quarterly planning, get someone to help you organize your project management systems, your tech stacks. Like, all these things require a whole nother different view of your company. You got to bring these people in. Otherwise, we get so linear and stuck in our thoughts. We just can't see what's wrong with us. No one can see the back of our neck, our own back. And like, there's so many areas of our life that we just can't see without these other people having perspective from all over us.
You're exactly right. And it collapses time. And it creates more enterprise value. Enterprise value means, what is the value of your business? Your net worth is actually going to be almost 90% plus into your business. And here's the thing, and I want to destroy this myth for all entrepreneurs. It doesn't happen organically. Like, I think a lot of entrepreneurs have this ideology where it's just going to happen organically, and I'm going to go from 0 to 100 million, and it's just going to happen organically. It does not happen organically. It happens methodically, and it happens with the right people and the right mentorship and the right team around you. And it actually requires a shitload of cash, a whole lot of belief, and an unrelenting, push forward to make all of that happen. Very few companies get to massive scale without outside help and influence. And that's why, like, I used to say, hey, this is an invitation and not an obligation. I'm like, fuck that. This is an invitation to your obligation. You got into business for a reason. You got into business to build something big. This is an invitation to your obligation, to your dream. And actually allowing people to come in, surround you, wipe the mud from your eyes, as Troy just said, and actually experience like what it's like to build a company that's wildly valuable, 100% ethical, and is 100% ready to be sold should you choose so.
And George Clooney, I was watching an interview, he said the one thing that you will regret is what you didn't try. And a lot of you are afraid to go try deep dive mentorship, deep dive coaching. Anthony said he invested in one guy, even more, like another guy that's made the biggest change. He's been paying $10,000 a month for 1 or 2 hours of calls, and that's made the biggest massive impact, or one of the large levers that changed the way they saw things.
And the guy that connected him to that guy is this guy. That's why he calls me the number 4 advisor, but the number 1 connector. But without me being his first advisor and actually opening that gateway, he wouldn't have access to that person. And guess what? This person that he's talking about is Harvard educated, and Harvard education is great. But really what you're getting at Harvard is access to the alumni, access to your fellow people.
The intelligence.
Like the years and years of knowledge in those rooms. Access is the key differentiator. And that is what we want for you. We want you to grant yourself access, whether it's with us or with somebody else. Like, go out there, like, interview people. Don't get any C-level players. Go get some A players and understand
that have been C-suite.
Yeah, exactly. That have been C-suite, and understand that you're an A player as well. So, Troy, we're gonna wrap this up here in a second. So, like, where are you at right now? Like, so you're out of the company for 4 years. Like, the company's grown 4x. Like, what's the future look like for you?
I literally get to hang out with the people that are at the company now and learn from them. Like, we're hiring people that are so ridiculously high level now that every conversation is so vastly different from the other. Like, the tech team is extreme now. right? The different regulations, compliance teams, the level of intelligence keeps growing. At the same time, I get to work with the next generation of entrepreneurs. We've been investing and scaling companies and putting money and time and helping other people find, follow, and finish their course of destiny. We've been helping people invest into their dreams and find their dreams and then accelerate the crap out of that, right? And then work on that. And then learning the next level for me and for other entrepreneurs. There's a whole estate game. There's a whole tax game. There's a whole investor game. And there's a whole mastery of that nobody talks about. Even trying to pull it out of the experts is almost impossible. And that costs tens of, almost like 100,000 plus, and like years to assemble these people, to even aggregate all these things together, because there's levels of tax planning that people don't even understand. And you have to have one expert work on one thing, one expert work on another thing, one expert work on another, and like find people that can help even find these people and even know these things even exist. I guarantee 99% of what I'm talking about with you won't even know even exist. Like you make, maybe some major concepts, but there's little refinements now that I've been learning and stumbling into, right? And then architecting the legal and the technology and the functionality of some of these companies in the back end to make sure they don't fail. Because there's a lot of ignorance as an entrepreneur we have, that we don't know what's legal. We don't know what's right. We don't know where things can go wrong. And literally, I had a 3-hour conversation just on how companies that are huge, that are massive investment vehicles, are being like massively fined because even they're screwing up. And so it's a very tough game we play. That's why you need a wide group of community to help you see things or learn things. You just don't know what you just don't know.
Right. So you're out. So Troy is evangelical in his cause of helping entrepreneurs like build systems if they want to scale and sell, or if they just simply want to scale and sort of get into the position that he's in, which is he's built himself, out of a job. And what he's talking about is there's several components to a deal. There's kind of the emotional intelligence, which we call EQ, is the primary function. Then there's the BQ, which is the business quotient, and it's all those things: building systems, building processes, building out the right people in the organization, having the right profitability, having anchored to purpose, etc. And then there's the DQ, which is all the back end stuff that he's describing, which is tax implications, tax structure, wealth management, and so all of these things have to be triangulated. And as I say, that's kind of like the entrepreneurial golden carrot, the valuation golden carrot. And so what guys like Troy and I are super committed to is unearthing that golden carrot, because the problem with carrots is they grow into the ground and they grow down into the ground, and that's where most entrepreneurs live. They live in the dark, in the ground, covered in their dirt, covered in their soot and their shoulds and all these things, and the widest base of that carrot is the EQ. So you have to have the emotional intelligence to allow someone like Troy and I to come in and unearth like the opportunities for you, because they're really endless, and kind of turn that thing upside down, build a base of emotional intelligence in a room full of people who give a shit about you and your results, and then stack on the business quotient, and then stack on all the deal quotient stuff. And when you turn a carrot upside down, it literally looks like a rocket ship, and it goes high up on a meteoric rise. Everybody oohs and ahs, and at some point in your journey, you can exit. You can exit the atmosphere. You can exit, in a traditional sense. You can exit, and hand it off to the next generation, or you can prepare yourself in the unlikely and terrible event that you might die. Like, why would you ever get into a maze and not know that there's an exit? Like, that is what we do for entrepreneurs. And so, Troy, I'm super proud of you and all you've done. You've been extremely instrumental in my life, as a friend, as a brother, as a business partner. You've stood by me. You've radically shifted the way I think. And so I'm super proud to call you my friend, my partner, my brother. Any closing thoughts for the founders out there?
Find someone who's going to challenge your view of who you are and where you're at today. Who's going to push you and be authentic and be real and collide with you and challenge you and not back down to you? Because the problem is you become the king of the shitheads when you're running your own company. And unless someone's challenging you, you're never going to grow and become the person you're potentially could become. You're never going to grow beyond where you're stuck in your own mental limitations. So find someone that's going to collide with you, challenge you, literally pound at you until they don't give up. Almost like a best friend said, hey, I see more for you. I know there's more for you. I know you can experience more, have more, live more, but I'm going to keep going after you and say, you need this, and keep colliding with you until the mud's wiped from your eyes. Like, holy crap, this is the next version of the person I can become.
I love it. I love it. Well, guys, this has been another episode of the Founders Table. Anthony Basilio is out. Guess where he is? He is sitting in a room with like-minded people right now. He's a man that puts his money where his mouth is and invests constantly into himself, into his team, into systems, into mentorship, I mean, it's actually atrocious if you looked at just from a dollars perspective what this man spends on himself and his business. But what is not atrocious is the ROI that he has, is this business has been unearthed and has a meteoric rise. So I hope you enjoyed this episode of the Founders Table with real founders, real conversation, and a table that is full of bountiful things that you need as an entrepreneur. So pull up a seat next week, and we'll be back with another episode of Founders Table. Thank you so much. We out. That's it, baby. We done. Woo! Good job, Troy. Let's go.